Councillor Phil Shaw, can you please mute? Are we live streaming, Sonia? Yeah? Thank you. Good morning, my name is Councillor Shaw and I am the Chairman of the Licence and Appeals Subcommittee for today's hearing. My fellow committee members are Councillor Carol Weston, Councillor Phil Shaw, and our sub-member is Councillor Mike Lucas-Gill. The committee clerk is Sonia Worthington and the Principal Democratic Corporate Services Officer is Rebecca Hurst. And my screen's frozen, Rebecca. Can't read it. Sorry. The legal advisor, Rebecca. So please bear with me. My screen has just completely frozen, but we will continue this when I can read it off my phone. The legal advisor is Rebecca Hurst, Senior Solicitor. The purpose of the hearing is to consider an application for a review of premises relating premises licence relating to the premises known as Crafty Casks 33 Eastwood Road, Rayleigh. Please, can everyone use their microphones when speaking and mute them when they are not required to speak? Please also ensure that you follow the council procedure on remote meetings. You will have an opportunity to speak and ask questions. Please only speak when it is your turn. Please, can a council officer, before I do that, I would like to make a statement regarding this. This is a formal meeting and it will be live streamed, and I will want appropriate behaviour and language used within this meeting, please. Can the council's officer please introduce himself?
Good morning, I'm Stephen Greener. I'm the Principal Licensing Officer.
Thank you. Could the applicant introduce himself? Do you propose to call any witnesses?
Good morning, Chairman. Councillor Mike Wilkinson. I'm the Ward Councillor for Wheatley Ward, in which this premise is situated. And yes, I do propose to call a witness who's a resident in the residential block immediately above the premises in discussion today.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Could the licence holder introduce himself, and do you propose to call any witnesses?
Yes, I'm John Smith, the licence holder, and I'd like to call Ellie Smith as a witness, please.
Thank you very much. Could the council's environmental health officer introduce herself? Do you propose to call any witnesses?
Good morning, my name's Siobhan. I'm not intending to call any witnesses. Also today present is my colleagues Jane Spink and Andrew Padden.
Thank you very much. Could the interested parties introduce themselves?
Hello, yeah, my name's Ellie Smith and I live directly above Crafty Casks at 31C Eastwood Road.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Larissa Ean and I'm one of the residents of Alpha Court. I also live above Crafty Casks on the Eastwood Road.
Thank you very much. Have all the parties received agenda and report for today's hearing? Thumbs up for everyone. You've got no one saying no, so that looks like that's a good one. Thank you. The committee at the last meeting agreed, and it's gone again. All my screens are freezing, I'm afraid. The committee at the last meeting agreed to view the CCTV at the conclusion of the case without commentary. We, the committee, agree with that decision. We have spoken to the new members of the committee and this still stands. As the footage contains images of members of the public, this part of the hearing will not be streamed to avoid potential breaches of the GDPR. The order of the parties to make the submissions will be as follows. Licensing Officer, Mr. Greener. Applicant, Councillor Wilkinson. Responsible authority, that being Environmental Health, Miss Sheridan. Interested parties, and then the licence holder, Mr. Smith. The time limit of 15 minutes per party remains in place. 15 minutes is the total time of all interested parties and will be apportioned between them. Freeze, if all parties could amend their copy of the procedure as follows. Right, now. Council's licence officer will be asked to introduce the application and present their reports. The licence officer will not normally go through the report in full, as it is anticipated that the subcommittee and the parties have read it. The subcommittee and the parties may seek clarification from the licensing officers on matters raised in the report. So it will be Steve Greener first, please.
Good morning. As it's already been stated, I won't be going through the full report, but I will be highlighting paragraphs within the report for the assistance of the parties that are participating in this hearing. It is an application for a review of a licence under section 61 based on the licensing objectives, and the review was submitted on the 28th of August 2020 in relation to Crafty Casks. Within page 4.9 of the documentation that has been circulated, Councillor Wilkinson has requested that this licence is either removed or completely overhauled with additional conditions and vastly restricted hours of business. 4.13 of the documentation is a copy of the premises licence, and you will see that the premises licence only has the sale of alcohol within the actual licence. However, there is going to be conversations around other aspects of licensable activity which relates to regulated entertainment. This falls under section 177 of the live music deregulation, and it stipulates if a premises has an alcohol licence, then they are allowed to have the live music deregulation of live or recorded music up to 11 o'clock at night, and therefore it is not necessarily recorded on the premises licence. But as I said, it will be mentioned and will be discussed today. Going back to the report, paragraph 4.2 stipulates that Essex Police have not made any representation in support of the review. And also paragraph 4.3 of the report, the licensing authority have not made any representation either. On 4.24 of the documentation, environmental health have made representation. However, they have proposed conditions to try and address the issues. And these are also under page 4.25. Unfortunately, the venue and environmental health have not been able to agree a way forward. However, the venue have offered conditions under page 4.86 and 4.88 of their proposed conditions that they would be offering to be attached to the licence. Other interested parties have also submitted letters, and they can be found on page 4.68 and to 4.82, and we have a couple of people present with us that have actually included their representation that they will be verbally updating within this hearing. Under the licensing policy, which is issued, which is a 5-year policy, on paragraphs 5.7, it mentions that the applicants may wish to consider the following examples of control measures that might be included in their operating schedule where appropriate, having regards to a particular type of premises. And there's a number of measures that are actually within our policy of measures that could be considered in relation to control measures, including noise limiters, adoption of soundproofing, air conditioning. There's a number of different measures, including as well management of people, including staff, traffic, and people arriving and leaving the premises. In addition to this, on page 19 and in paragraph 1.88 of the policy, it says an application for a review will only be relevant if the grounds upon which it is made relate to the promotion of at least one of the 4 licensing objectives and is not vexatious or repetitive. Any evidentiary basis will be required to be presented to the licensing authority. Going back to the report, there are a number of options available to the committee in determining this application, and they are under 9.1. The options available are to modify the conditions to such an extent the members consider necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives. The second option is to exclude from the scope of the license any of the licensable activities to which the application relates. Option 3 is to remove the designated premises supervisor. 4 is to suspend the license for a period not exceeding 3 months. 5 to revoke the license. 6 to leave the license as it is, or 7 to adjourn the hearing to a specified date or arrange for a hearing to be held on specified additional dates where members can consider it necessary for the consideration of any representations or notice made by a party. And that is the end of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Greener. Has any of the committee got any questions, please? No, I can't see any hands up. So I take there's no questions from Mr. Greener. Can I move on to Councillor Wilkinson to please put his report in, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chairman, members, I think it's important before I start to explain why I've called this review, which on the face of it is quite a drastic application to make for premises within your own ward. And I have written something which I wish to read out to you, which I think and hope will explain my reasons for doing so, and hopefully will bring you up to speed with everything to do with this particular premises. I'm here primarily to represent the residents of Alpha Court. Alpha Court is a residential block of flats which is immediately above the subject venue of Crafty Casks. I hope, Chair and members, that you've had the opportunity to read the 7 letters of complaint which have been submitted to the licensing department as part of this review process. There are 7 individual letters of complaint. In February 2019, when the original application for change of use from a retail shop, it was a hardware store, was submitted, residents in Alpha Court contacted me with their concerns about the potential noise and disturbance which could result from a licensed premises being permitted directly beneath them. Despite my representations to the Development Committee last year, and again in the initial licensing application stage, both the change of use and the license were granted. The licensee, Mr. Smith, in his initial application dated the 18th of February 2019, states that he wishes to change the use of the unit from a shop to a micropub. He then goes on to describe what a micropub actually is, saying it is, and these are his words, they're saying that it is a well-run premises which tends to attract more mature clients who are interested more in what they drink rather than how much they drink. A picture, Chairman, was painted of a small pub where craft ales would be served, and once a customer tried a couple of beers, they would leave. Micropubs do tend to be trouble-free, we were told. So there is nothing for the residents above for the premises to worry about so far as disturbance and noise is concerned. In fact, Mr. Smith draws a parallel for 3 other venues in the local area, which are also micropubs, to reassure the council during the application stage that micropubs are well-run establishments. In her report, the planning officer at the time, in granting planning consent, cites other micropubs in the area and her personal experience of them, that they are well-run establishments which tend to attract a more mature client. Very similar wording, in fact, to that used by the applicant in his application. It appears as though it is on this basis that planning consent for the change of use was granted. Chair, I called this application at the time to the Development Committee. And at the Development Committee meeting, I explained to the committee that whilst the applicant may well intend to create a small micropub, which is very well run and does not attract trouble, changing the use to allow a licensed premises will mean that at that stage, they can change from a micropub to a normal licensed premises at any point that they wanted to. My concerns were mainly due to the ridiculous hours that were being requested. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, closing at midnight. That is not consistent at all with any other local micropubs. Hopperley, which is in Leigh-on-Sea, is open 3 days a week, latest time of closure, 10 p.m. Leigh-on-Sea Brewing Company is open 4 days a week, latest time of closure, 8 p.m. This particular premises wants to remain open 7 days a week, closing at midnight. It is therefore great concern to me, as it was the residents of Norfolk Court, that in fact the applicant had no intention of creating a micropub, but is in fact just wanting to open another bar in Rayleigh, the same as all the other bars which sell all types of drink, not just craft ales, and will attract all types of customers, which would result in potential trouble and disorder. The Development Committee upheld the officer's decision and cited actually it wasn't for the Planning Committee to regulate the bar, it's for licensing to do so. So I tried a second time at licensing, but failed, and the only thing I managed to achieve was the installation of CCTV, which actually is a benefit because it can be shown to you today, Chairman. In addition, it was discovered that no noise or soundproofing had been installed by the owners, despite this being a planning condition. They had decided off their own backs they didn't need it, having commissioned their own sound survey, thereby showing complete contempt for Council Planning Department. To date, this planning condition has still not been discharged, and the Planning Department enforcing officer said, in response to my question about this, that as this review is ongoing, nothing will be done until the outcome of this review. The bar remained open in this manner for several months, and it caused no end of nuisance to the residents above, right from day one, completely ignoring any attempts from me or the council to try and deal with them, despite a noise abatement order being brought to them and despite the environmental health team being involved on several occasions. COVID-19 eventually shut them for a period of time, so peace returned. Once the government permitted bars to open again, the noise started again, and in some cases worse than before. You'll have read the letters how residents cannot sleep with the windows open. Some cannot sleep at all, but the noise resonates through the pub, through the walls of the building rather. The bar, Chair, has never been a micropub. It has always been another pub in Rayleigh. The owners allow lock-in parties where there's usually loud singing. Large groups of drunk customers are regularly in the streets outside singing and shouting, and in some cases fighting. Essex Police, despite not supporting this review, have been called there on more than one occasion to deal with disorder. There are also a couple of letters in support of Crafty Casks. However, those are patrons or employees of Crafty Casks. Right, Chairman, members, I have called this review for several reasons. One is to protect the residents in Alford Court. They have been living there for some considerable time, well before any consent was given by RDC to change its use. They used to live above a hardware store, which was shut after shopping hours. Two, the owners have completely misrepresented, I would submit, their intentions to the council in their application. This was never intended to be a micropub. From day one, it opened as a bar, attracting all sorts of customers, selling a wide variety of drinks, not just craft ales. Three, the opening hours, Chair, are excessive. They are open far longer than any other micropub in this area. And there is clear evidence of this on the license, of the licensee's intention to, there's clear evidence, or lack of evidence, I should say, of the licensee's intention to comply with the law, as we can see and will see from the CCTV. Now, Chair, I'm not suggesting at all this premises should be closed in any way. In this current economic environment, I applaud any business that's able to keep going. However, 1 year since it first opened, despite numerous interventions from various sections of the council to get them to change their working practices, they continue to ignore the pleas for common sense. They continue to ignore what the council is trying to ask them to do. And you said yourself, Chair, or sorry, Stephen, I should say, said there is still, they haven't, even the environmental health and the licensee haven't agreed. They still won't do what the environmental health are asking. It is less than a year from opening, this establishment has been warned about the noise. It has failed to complete discharge of planning conditions. There is a live application that has not yet been discharged, and they've been further warned by the council since COVID restrictions are lifted. I now respectfully ask each of you, members, to carefully consider the impact this bar is having on those who live above it. Would you wish to live there with the current situation? I certainly wouldn't. How can we better protect the residents in Alford Court? The licensee himself has never once interacted with any residents who have complained in Alford Court to work with them. His son did once, but on that occasion he accused him of lying because he didn't like what he was told. Forgive me, right, which is coincidentally still their current position. Residents must be lying, must be exaggerating. The first thing I would ask is that their opening hours are restricted, Chair, to a latest hour of 10 p.m, closure at the very latest on each and every day they're open, with a final sale of alcohol no later than 9:30 p.m. Give them half an hour to drink. The trouble which has been at the bar has not just been on any particular night. It has not been on just weekends. It's been on both weekdays as well as weekends, and it's predominantly after that time, most of the time. I would invite you to consider, if you deem it appropriate, for the bar to be open every day of the week. That, of course, is a matter for yourselves. There is no security whatsoever at the premises. A condition of the licence, I submit, must be to include door security 7 days a week. Again, I stress that the trouble is also on weekdays, not just on weekends, which is why it's needed 7 days a week, or it's needed every day that you intend to permit them to be open. The owners have proven they're incapable of controlling the customers. They have voluntarily employed door staff on a couple of occasions who actually have proved ineffective. And this has been witnessed. This may be due to either who they've employed or to the instructions given to them. I don't know which. Either way, effective door staff with proper control over the customers is a requirement and needs to be a condition of the licence. They need to regulate drinking outside. The outside smoking area is tiny, absolutely tiny. And generally, customers standing outside, particularly in the summer months, block the pavement. The noise from these clients is of great concern to the residents above, and this predominantly is causing the problems. I would suggest door staff do not allow drinks to be taken outside. The area just simply isn't big enough. The actual licensee has very little to do with this establishment, and whilst acknowledging that under the licensing legislation he doesn't have to physically be there, his absence and allowing his son to run things is partly the reason things have gone awry. Mr. John Smith, who is the licensee, and as such, we should require him to be on the premises for a monitoring period until they are proven they can and do comply with conditions. One thing I'd just like to add, Chair, is as things are appropriate under the circumstances, and it's with some great disappointment that I have to speak about Miss Smith, who's on this call, who has appeared to change her mind on the venue and the effect that this has on the life of her children. Chair, I had the pleasure of speaking to Miss Smith on 2 occasions, once in person and once over the phone. On both occasions, she was quite forthright with me about the impact that the bar was having on her life. And she wanted to fully support the review of the licence. She stated she intended to submit a letter to the council in support of the review. I had, and indeed she did so, I had reason to speak with her on the phone a few weeks back, after I was informed that she might have been threatened or intimidated by the licensee's son to withdraw her statement. I managed to speak with her on the phone that same evening, and she reassured me that she hadn't been. And whilst Chris Smith had been directly in contact with her, it was because her statement was the most damaging about Crafty Casks, and that was what the nature of the conversation was. He wanted her to speak in defence of the bar, but she informed me that she had no intention of doing so. Now, clearly she's changed her mind today. I'm going to say 2 things on this point, Chair. First is I would urge you, and I'm happy if you permit me to allow the chance to question later on, I would urge you to examine and fully investigate her reasons for completely changing her mind and her stance over this application. And secondly, I would suggest respectfully that has something to do with the fact that since that conversation I had with her, she has formed a company called S&E Cleaning with another lady who lives in there, one of whom her clients actually is the bar. So, and that's all over her Facebook page. So that could well be the reason why she's now supporting the bar itself. Members, to conclude, unless much tighter controls are imposed on this bar today by you, they will continue to daily ruin the lives of those who live above it. Enough is enough. They've had a year of this now. They do not comply with anything that the council are telling them to do. They have had a whole year to sort themselves out and have failed to do so, despite numerous warnings, pleas from us, and a court order. They are still arguing, and they are not doing anything that they're still arguing they're not doing anything wrong and that everyone else is exaggerating. This is all a vendetta. Chair, that could not be further from the truth. Look at the evidence that's there before you this morning. The allegations of drug abuse, the CCTV evidence that we will be reviewing at the end, not just by one, but several people, including bar staff behind the bar, not just the customers, and the lack of control over the customers. And I would therefore respectfully ask you, please, today to impose stricter conditions on their licence so that they can trade, but that the residents of Alford Court can live their lives. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. I haven't got any questions at the moment, but has Councillor Carol Weston or Councillor Phil Shaw got any? Carol Weston, Councillor Weston, can you please ask?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not sure who I should ask these questions to, but I will start with Councillor Mike Wilkinson. Councillor Wilkinson, have you ever been to the Crafty Crafts venue of an evening at all? Is the first question.
I haven't, Councillor Weston, no, and there's a very good reason for that. Because of my involvement right from the start, before before this premises even opened, I didn't want to compromise myself. I'm a lover of craft ale, and I would support the premises, but I didn't want to put myself in a conflicting position. So no, I haven't.
Okay, thank you. Another question I'd like to ask is: you stated that this is the only pub that's open till 11:30. I think you said. I'm not sure whether I should direct this to you or obviously Steve Greener, but I'm sure there are other pubs in the area. And is there not a couple more licensed premises down that road near Crafty Crafts that are open as well?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right, Councillor Weston. Yeah, no. What I said was it's the only micro pub in the area that's open till midnight. It's open past 10 p.m. In my submission to you, I said that this was initially. This application was initially put to the council not as just a licensed premise, not as a bar, but as a micro pub for the sale of craft ale. That's what this application was a year and a half ago. Now, what I'm saying to you is, you are quite right. There's lots of licensed premises that are open until 11:30 and beyond. What I'm saying to you is that micro pubs are not, and this is what this premises was aimed at being. In fact, it's now turned into another one of the ones you're alluding to, another Bar Blanco, another Witherspoons, or whatever that's turned into. That's not what it was purported to be. And bearing in mind those others are not directly below licensed residential flats. Okay.
Another question. You said about drug abuse, etc. Has there been any evidence by the police that's been raided the premises to say there's been any drug abuse within Crafty Crafts at all, Councillor Wilkinson?
No. To answer your question about the police, no, I know there have been intelligence reports put into the police. I know that for a fact. But I don't want to preempt what Siobhan Sheridan is going to show you, because I think that might answer some of your questions.
Okay, thanks. Another question I want to ask, I'm not sure whether you should answer this or whether your young ladies should answer this personally. On the flats, I noticed in one of the young ladies saying that when she wants to get into her property, there are people standing outside her front door. Is her front door from Eastwood Road, or is her front door going up the back of the stairs to the flat? I don't know whether you can answer that or whether the young lady can answer that at all.
Chair, with permission, I think it's probably better that, but when you say young lady, who are you referring to?
Ellie Smith.
Or Ellie? Oh, Ellie, right, okay, fair enough.
Oh, hi, yes. Yes, that would be me. You come through the front, that's my front entrance, which is Crafty Casks, obviously front entrance. I have a front and a back. It happened once or twice, and then I did tell Chris, and I haven't had anything since that, because I do tend to come around the back.
Okay, can I ask another question on these flats? Are they, because I noticed you're saying that you're right above that flat. Are you the only lady who lives right above the flat?
I am. Yeah, I am. I live directly above the flat. So the pub. So my flat is affected the most, basically. If there's any problem, then I am the one that's affected. I would imagine.
Thank you. Sorry, Rebecca. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say through the chair. apologies for my interjection. I think Ms. Smith is going to give her evidence as a witness for Mr. Smith, and questions can be asked of her at that stage. I do understand, obviously, from Councillor Weston's point of view, I think the initial question was directed to the applicant. When a party takes its opportunity to give their make their representations, the way the procedure works is that they are then can be asked clarifications by the committee and by the other parties. If it's a question that they cannot answer, may I suggest, Chair, that they simply say that they are not the person to answer, and then the question be put again at the relevant point. It may assist. I think otherwise we're going to get representations coming in at different times.
That's fine. Sorry. Yeah, I'll come back later if I need to ask Councillor Wilkinson
thank you.
questions. Thank you.
Councillor Phil Shaw, did you have anything?
No questions at the moment, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Can the premises licence holder please speak on this? Mr. John Smith. You're on mute, Mr. Smith. Oh, you're not now.
Right. Okay. I'll be very brief, as I think I've covered most of the things in my written submission. First, I'd like to say how much I bitterly regret recent events, in particular those of the 7th of August. We had some difficulties with live music when we first opened because I believed that our soundproofing was
without
good.
wishing to speak over Mr. Smith again, my apologies for interjecting yet again. Mr. Smith, I think the Chair was getting at the point that this is your opportunity. If you have any clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Wilkinson, and then you will get your opportunity to make your full representations in due course. So I think, am I right, Chair, that you were inviting Mr. Smith to ask any questions he may have of Mr. Wilkinson?
Yes, I have.
Sorry,
but I've also, excuse me, I've also got to clarify on my list. It does go the council's licensing officer, the applicant, the premises licence holder, and any responsible authorities. Has that changed?
I think you may have the old version from the last hearing that was revised. Apologies. It is the council's licensing officer, the applicant, any responsible authorities, then any interested parties, and then the premises licence holder, and any witnesses come within the time allocated for the representations to be made.
Okay, so that, because that's what I've just pulled down this morning. So I do apologise. So, Mr. Smith, have you got any clarification? Anything you'd like to ask Mr. Wilkinson, but not put in what else you would like to say?
Yeah. No, I think Councillor Wilkinson has made his position quite clear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will now go on to the environmental health. Miss Sheridan, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith has no objection to the statement of facts presented by me, environmental health, as the evidence is unequivocal. The licence holder has failed to meet the licensing objectives, namely the following: the prevention of crime and disorder. So on Friday the 7th of August at 23:48 and Sunday the 9th of August at 6 minutes past midnight, alcohol was sold to members of the public outside the premise licensable hours, therefore breaching licence conditions and not meeting the licensing objectives. Screenshots of these transactions taking place can be found in my exhibits SS06, and these are on page 4.58 and 4.59 and 4.60. These are images of obviously the transaction of the sale of alcohol outside the licensable hours. Also on Friday the 7th of August at 23:59, a male enters a single occupancy toilet, followed shortly by a second male, 4 minutes later, both males leave the toilet together. This type of behaviour is typically associated with recreational drug use. Screenshots of the CCTV images can be found in my exhibits SS06, and that's on page 4.61 and 4.62. Under the licensing objective, public safety, on Sunday the 9th of August at 7 minutes past midnight, Chris Smith, Mr. John Smith's son, can be seen lighting a cigarette while standing behind the bar. He then hands the lighter to a member of the public who is sat on the other side of the bar for him to light his cigarette too. Both male and female bar staff also light cigarettes behind the bar with no hesitation, indicating that this is common practice to smoke within a smoke-free premises. Also, another member of the public can also be smoking despite the premises displaying no smoking signs. The Health Act 2006 sets out that premises that are open to the public or are used as a place of work by more than one person, or where members of the public might attend to receive or provide goods of service, are to be smoke-free in areas that are enclosed or substantially enclosed. The Health Act places a duty on any person who controls or is concerned in the management of a smoke-free premises to cause a person to stop smoking. However, Chris Smith openly encourages the smoking on the premises. Also, in regards to public health, there are lack of COVID controls in the current climate in the middle of a pandemic, and there appear to be no or little control in place to stop customers mixing with other groups or control the size of groups. Customers were seen wandering across the whole of the premises and interacting with what appeared to be other groups. From reviewing the CCTV footage on the 7th of August, 3 customers were seen touching their faces, mouths, coughing or sneezing into their hands, and then shaking hands, hugging, or in one case, putting the hand across the face of another customer without washing or cleaning their hands. This is highly concerning, as it represents a high risk of spreading the coronavirus. The waitress and Chris Smith can be seen hugging and shaking hands with multiple customers, collecting empty glasses and continuing to prepare customers' drinks without washing or cleaning their hands in any way. This poor hand hygiene presents a high risk of transmission of the virus. At one point, 4 customers started to dance in a large space in the middle of the floor premises, and premises are not allowed to function as a nightclub, as the practice of dancing in close proximity to others is deemed to be high risk and the spread of the virus. No attempt was made by staff to stop them dancing. This can be seen in stills taken from the CCTV in exhibit SS07. Under the prevention of public nuisance, under the licensing objective, complaints of noise and antisocial behaviour have been received, and on review of the premise CCTV on the 7th of August, large groups of customers to the premises frequently gather outside the premises, and also glassware is taken out of the premises. This is in the presence of Chris Smith, where he joins them outside. The doors are regularly left wide open and the noise to escape the premises. Exhibit SS08, which is on page 4.63 and 4.64, the male in the blue t-shirt and beige shorts is Chris Smith, Mr. Smith's, John Smith's son. Also, the female in the yellow blouse is holding a wine glass whilst out on the public highway outside of the premises. I've been provided with footage from one of my complainants. However, I have not disclosed the footage as the complainant was fearful of any reprisal. I can confirm, having viewed it, I am of the opinion that the noise levels on the 7th of August were significant and were unreasonable, and would likely have a detrimental impact on the residents of Alford Court. Also, the CCTV footage provided by the premises on the 7th of August, women are dancing at the premises and also in the open doorway of the premises, indicating that the music is at such a level that it is no longer background music or incidental, and due to the time of dancing occurring, it falls under regulated entertainment for which the premise is not licensed for, further breaching the licence conditions. Exhibits SS08 on page 4.65, 4.66 and 4.67 demonstrate or exhibit these behaviours in the CCTV stills. Conditions were posed to Mr. Smith prior to today's hearing. However, Mr. Smith does not want to be held accountable with anything that is enforceable. For example, Mr. Smith is happy to meet the requirements of an action plan in respect of door staff, but he is not prepared to have these as a licence condition attached to his premises. To address some of the items raised in Mr. Smith's statement, I have to rebuff Mr. Smith's claims that the complaints about the noise and the impact on neighbours is exaggerated. Previously, a noise abatement notice was served based on fact and being within the complainant's property at the time of the nuisance occurring. Not wishing to focus on the planning conditions that are still outstanding, as these are a separate issue to licensing, it was raised to bring some context into why the complaints are being received from residents located directly above the premises. It is also a further demonstration of Mr. Smith's inability to adhere to conditions put in place by Rochford District Council. Mr. Smith advises that there is a good level of attenuation and the noise level should have no significant impact on the residents. Is it unreasonable to suggest that the noise arising from Mr. Smith's business, unlike any other business that has been previously there, should have no adverse effect on the residents of Alford Court? Mr. Smith claims that he does not permit glasses to be taken from the premises, but this is not the case. On the 7th of August, a female can be seen taking a glass out the front of the premises on a number of occasions whilst congregating with a number of other individuals, including Chris Smith, who is responsible for managing the bar and is the son of Mr. John Smith. CCTV footage a week later on the 14th of August between 22:53 and 23:07, a 14-minute time span, there are 10 separate incidents of glassware having been removed from the premises. That obviously concludes the evidence that I'm presenting in regards to the licensing objectives. Other than that, I have tried to work with the premises and have submitted proposed conditions to Mr. Smith, and unfortunately we haven't been able to agree on some of the more serious conditions that would address some of the antisocial behaviour, the public nuisance side of things, for example, door staff, in regards to the regulated entertainment side of things, in regards to the playing of music.
Thank you very much. I've noticed that Councillor Carol Weston wants to have ask a question for on the subcommittee for clarification purposes. Thank you, Councillor Weston.
Thank you, Chairman. Siobhan, few things really. Has the licensee got some sort of policy procedures in place to do with this licensed premises? Because obviously I'm looking at, if he's got CCTV, one of the things is, does his staff know that there's CCTV and they can be picked up on anything? So is any policies and procedures in place for that? You talk about the noise level. On the noise level, how do you quantify the noise level being over and above it should be? We also talk about bar stewards again, because you talk about glasses being taken outside the pub. And I noticed in one of the reports that somebody said they saw one being smashed on the road or something. How does the licensee quantify for that if he's got a policy and procedure in place on that? And you also say about the action plan, and the licensee is not prepared to put this action plan in place. And I was just wanting to know what reasons are there that he doesn't want to put an action plan in place, seeing that we've got quite a few problems and seeing that we have got the evidence by CCTV. Sorry, there's quite a few sort of questions there. Thank you.
That's fine. In regards to the CCTV, it is a licence condition. It's a requirement of their licence to have CCTV operational within the premises. In regards to whether the company has a policy in regards to their staff, that's something that Mr. Smith should be able to answer for you. But as I say, I can confirm it is a licence condition to have CCTV within the premises. In regards to addressing your clarification in regards to noise and what levels, statutory nuisance is subjective, so it's based on the average person. So there aren't any noise levels set in regards to a decibel level that is being exceeded. It's about what's unreasonable and a significant impact and an unreasonable effect on the material enjoyment of somebody's property. So at the time when I undertook monitoring, I was within the complainant's property, and it was late in the evening, around 9-10 o'clock, that sort of time, maybe later. And when you can clearly hear somebody audible on a microphone saying thank you very much, and singing, and it's very clear and audible, then we're in the realms of being unreasonable, because it's not reasonable for somebody trying to sleep within their premises and they're being significantly affected by noise generated from the business below the premises. And sorry, you have to the last issue.
The action plan. You said there was an action. You want to put an action plan in place, and the licensee did not want to do this. Can you sort of reiterate on that one, please?
Yeah. So licensing at Rochford District Council have been working with the licensed premises, and they have an action plan in place. And the conditions that I were proposing to the license holder just basically replicates the action plan. So the action plan set by Stephen Green or his team in regards to the licensed premises has required Mr. Smith to have door staff, and that has been happening, as far as I'm aware, at the premises while the premises has been operating. What I wanted to undertake with the premise holder is I offered him the opportunity that he could make a application to alter his conditions so we could agree, and he didn't at the time want to commit to license conditions prior to today's hearing.
Sorry, can I come back, Chairman, on that one? What do you mean license? Sorry, Siobhan, you'll have to explain that a little bit more to the committee.
Yeah.
So basically with license conditions, because they're attached to the premise license, they then become enforceable. So if Mr. Smith failed to adhere to those license conditions, then the licensing team would be in a position to take formal action in regards to Mr. Smith not adhering to those license conditions. As I say, rather than have an informal agreement with the premises, I wanted to make the conditions formal, but obviously I have proposed conditions. Mr. Smith wasn't prepared to address the issues prior to today's review hearing. So obviously you have a copy of the proposed licence conditions from Environmental Health, and obviously I ask you to obviously consider the most appropriate course of action given the evidence that's been presented today.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I noticed Steve Greener would like to say something, but after that, I'd like to Ms. Sheridan to actually go through the conditions on page 4.22, so everyone's aware of them, please. So you're aware that I will be asking you that question. Steve, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's just to give a little bit of clarity, really, because it is a little bit confusing. If you look at page 4.18 of the bundle, there is actually a copy of the license conditions that are currently attached to the premises license. These were agreed when the original license was granted in conjunction with Essex Police, Environmental Health, ourselves, and other responsible authorities. Condition 1 talks about the CCTV requirement, and condition 2 talks about the CCTV signage, so that it's clearly that there is CCTV in the premises. There is also condition 11, which talks about all staff engaged in the sale of alcohol shall receive training, which again does cover a lot of the licensing objectives. And condition 12 talks about training records. So again, there's a lot already in the license conditions already there. In relation to an action plan, I followed the Home Office guidance document in relation to dealing with problem premises. And in following the Home Office route map, it asks you to obviously trying to work with the premises first to try and deal with the ongoing issues. And if you can deal with those issues, then obviously there's no need to obviously support a review. I can confirm John Smith and the premises has been working with myself in relation to an action plan, and that is still in place and it is ongoing for us. Hence the reason why the licensing authority didn't make representation against in support of the review, because we are still continuing to work with the venue. Unfortunately, as it's been highlighted, it's a bit of a stalemate sort of position with regards to environmental health. They have asked for conditions to be attached to the licence, some which do mirror the action plan. And I believe John Smith, when he presents his case, will highlight the conditions that he is happy to agree to have on the licence, subject to obviously the committee still allowing him to maintain the licence. But there are some conditions that haven't been agreed between environmental health and Mr. Smith, hence the reason why they've made representation today. Does that give a little bit more clarity?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted for the whole committee to know that what the full conditions were, Steve. And I know Councillor Phil Shaw wants to speak. Councillor Shaw, can we go through the conditions first, please? You're on
Yes,
mute.
certainly.
Thank you. Could you just run through the conditions, please, so we all know what the conditions are? Thank you.
Sure. So the proposed conditions from environmental health, the first condition was a minimum of 2 security industry authority registered door staff will be employed from 2000 hours every Friday and Saturday night. And the DPS will assess the number of and use of door staff on other days, times and occasions, or where the police and licensing and the DPS will ensure a proper record is kept to show details of all door staff on duty. Where the premises are providing a takeout service only, then there is no requirement for door staff. This condition is already agreed in principle through the action plan with licensing. The only caveat included is to recognise the current climate of coronavirus, and in the event that the business is only providing a takeout service. Unfortunately, this condition wasn't agreed with the licence holder. All windows and external doors shall be kept closed except for the immediate access and egress of persons. This was agreed in principle with the licence holder. Notices shall be displayed close to the entrance and exit doors to the premises, reminding patrons of the residential area nearby and asking patrons to leave the premises quietly. This too has been agreed in principle by the licence holder. Patrons permitted to temporarily leave and then re-enter the premises, e.g. to smoke, shall not be permitted to take drinks or glass containers with them, agreed in principle by the licence holder. Staff shall monitor customers smoking outside the premises on a regular basis to ensure patrons do not cause a public nuisance. This was also agreed in principle with the licence holder. Section 177 of the Licensing Act 2003 does not apply to the premises. This was not agreed with the licence holder. If I could give some clarification. So basically under the Live Music Act, the premises is able to have music from the hours of 8 AM to 11 PM without the requirement of it being licensed or attached to their licence for regulated entertainment. By adding this condition, it removes that availability to have the deregulation of the Live Music Act. So that basically requires them that they won't have any music whatsoever at the premises. However, as an alternative condition, we did suggest that a tamper-proof noise limiting device shall be fitted to the sound system within the premises, and all amplified music played at the premises must pass through a sound limiter at a level agreed by the council's environmental health section. The noise limiter shall not be altered without prior agreement with the council's environmental health section. While live or recorded music takes place, the licensee and or management shall undertake regular monitoring of noise levels at the nearest noise sensitive locations, and a record shall be kept of any monitoring, including the date, time and location of the monitoring, the name of the monitorer and any action taken. Records shall be kept for no less than 6 months and shall be made available upon request by a police officer or an authorised officer of Rochford District Council. And then lastly, no waste or recyclable materials, including bottles, shall be moved, removed from or placed in outside areas between 2300 hours and 0800 hours on the following day. Again, this condition was agreed in principle by the holder, licence holder.
Thank you very much. I noticed, Councillor Wilkinson, you have your hand up. After Councillor Shaw, then you'll be invited to do it for clarification. Thank you. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question about the sound levels. I understand that some readings were taken of sound levels in the flats. Was this at the request of the flat owner?
In regards to my investigation, in regards to a noise nuisance complaint that I'd received, I was in the flat directly above the premises, and that was on request by the occupant of that premises. There weren't particular noise readings, as I say, for statutory nuisance. There isn't a set decibel level. It's about what's unreasonable and what's having a significant impact on the material enjoyment of somebody's property.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chair. Siobhan, a couple of questions, if I may. Just referring to the sound checking that you were doing, you were saying it was a flat directly above the premises. I believe there are a couple of flats directly above the premises, but Miss Sally Smith has said she lives directly above the premises. So are we talking about the one in the same flat?
Yes.
We are. So the sound checks that time took place in Ellie Smith's flat?
That's correct.
Okay, and I think I'm right, you said that it's a subjective test, there isn't a set decibel level, but whatever your views were and your opinions were, you took those to a noise abatement order. Was that issued by yourself or by a court?
The noise abatement is issued by myself. I was the witnessing officer. I was in attendance at the premises, and the noise abatement is to prohibit basically a reoccurrence of the same. So basically, it's a formal document, and any breaches to that document, if they're witnessed by an officer, then it would result in formal legal action in regards to breach of.
All right, sorry. Okay, that's fair enough. So just one other thing I was going to ask you. One of the conditions that you recommended to the committee was around door start from Fridays and Saturdays. I'm just curious as to why you've narrowed it down to those 2 days, because as I'm sure you're aware, in my submission to the panel, I said it should really be every day they're open, because the information I'm getting from those who are affected by this premises, that it's not just at weekends. There's been a number of incidents during the week as well. So I'm curious to know why you've only recommended weekends.
It's really in reflection to other licensable premises within the area in regards to some continuity in regards to licence conditions throughout the Rayleigh. And obviously each premises is individual, and therefore it needs tailoring to each individual premises, and that's why there is a caveat in that condition in regards to the DPS will assess the number and use of door staff on other days. So, as a business person, you have to be a responsible person for running your premises, and also obviously that's in conjunction with obviously Essex Police and the licensing department. So there is that caveat there. If it was necessary to run Sunday to Thursday in regards to additional door staff, or even for bank holidays, or where public holidays like Christmas and that fall not on a Friday or Saturday, that allows this condition to work right across the board, really.
Okay, so I'll be right in saying then that your recommendation is based on conforming to the norm within Rayleigh as opposed to specifics for this premises.
It's just in regards to the evidence that's been made available to me. Most of the evidence that has been made available to me has been predominantly at the weekends. But as I say, I can't really comment in regards to what's happening during the week, only because I haven't been privy to that
Okay.
evidence.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I thought you had been, because I have about stuff during the week, and I thought you had been as well. But that answers the question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I can't see anyone else wanting to ask any questions. Is there? No? So I'm now going to go on to Mr. Smith.
Chairman, I think Mr. Greener had his hand up.
Oh, sorry. You haven't got your hand up? No? Shaking your head, Steve, or nodding?
No, nothing from myself. I didn't know if there was any questions that Mr. Smith wanted, obviously, clarity from Ms. Sheridan.
Yes. Mr. Smith? Have you any clarification only questions for Ms. Sheridan?
Yes. Hello, Ms. Sheridan. The only thing I really wanted to talk about was the door staff, as to why you wanted the door staff to be put in as a condition of the licence, rather than relying on the flexibility of the action plan that we already have in place. I've given undertakings to Stephen Greener that I would have I would comply with the action plan indefinitely. So as the conditions changed, so I'd be happy to change the number of door staff. For instance, when we went on to level 2, our turnover plummeted by about 75%, and Stephen Greener agreed that in that case we only needed 1 door staff. And in fact, the door staff said we didn't need anybody, because at some stages on Friday and Saturday, the number of staff we had on outnumbered our customers. So I feel that...
Mr. Smith, is this asking for clarification, or are you making a statement, please?
Sorry, yes. Yes, I slipped into making a statement. I'm very sorry. But I just wondered why Siobhan wanted a formal change rather than the informal situation we already have.
Thank you. Ms. Smith? Ms. Sheridan?
Right. So in regards to your question, obviously we are currently in the middle of a pandemic, but I don't anticipate that this will be the new norm. At some point we will obviously come through this and be acting, and so the conditions are in regards to the longevity for as long as you're a licence holder. And also the reason to put them as part of the licence conditions is because to make them enforceable. Obviously, there is evidence that you struggle to maintain or meet the licence conditions already in place. And so therefore, I think it's reasonable to put a condition in that is enforceable, rather than relying on the goodwill of somebody who hasn't currently been running the premises in a fit and proper manner.
Thank you very much. I can't see, I'll have a look. I can't see anyone else up with their hands. No. So we will now move on to the premises licence holder, and you'll have an opportunity to present your submissions. You will have 15 minutes. If you'd like to go now, Mr. Smith.
Apologies, Chair, if I interject again. I think there may be an interested party.
Okay, is the interested party Miss E?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, it's your opportunity to speak, and again you'll have 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Larissa Eade, and I'm making representation on behalf of some of the residents of Alford Court. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. First of all, can I point out that myself and my fiance, Paul Smith, are not averse to the idea of a micropub that is operational within its licensing conditions, and there is no personal vendetta against either Mr. John Smith, his son, or the business. One of the residents, Mrs. G. Smith, wishes to state that she remains a resident of Alford Court and has been for over 25 years. She would like to stress that in lockdown, for the sake of her health and safety, she stayed at her partner's residence in Surrey. Since lockdown was lifted, she has been returning regularly, but feels she could not return permanently due to the disturbances caused by Crafty Casks. On the subject of letters, a couple of the residents didn't have access to a computer or printer. Therefore, they asked me to help articulate their grievances in a manner that was acceptable for a licence review. Missy Smith was one of the residents that reached out and asked me for help. I did all of this in good faith, and I find the current accusations that I have written a letter for her and forced her to sign very upsetting and distressing. I can only assume that her U-turn is either due to her belief the letter was anonymous or is connected to the fact that since submitting her letter, she now works for the company that cleans Crafty Casks on a regular basis. If required, I can produce evidence in this hearing to support my assertion that Miss Smith approached me and was in full agreement of me assisting with her letter. The reason I feel I need to talk to you today is to address the detrimental effect the day-to-day running of Crafty Casks is having on mine and my fiance's mental and physical health. Our main issue is the level of noise created by the bar's patrons who congregate, be it weekend or weekday, for long periods of time on the pavement outside the bar beneath our living room window. Neither of us could be a prude, but the shouting, foul language and altercations have been a constant disturbance into the early hours, repeatedly, night after night after night. During the summer months, the level of noise was so intolerable that we were unable to hear our television or open our windows, even on the hottest of days. As I'm sure you would agree, everyone has the right to be able to sit down and relax in the comfort of their own home. Unfortunately, this right has been denied us, and instead it's causing us to experience stress, anxiety and depression. Rather than being able to enjoy the summer months, we found ourselves dreading a nice warm day, and we feared it would trigger an influx of patients to the bar on the pavement outside. I must emphasise that we have no escape from the noise, as even in the sanctuary of our own bedroom, shouting and singing can still be heard. Paul Smith has voiced these issues with the licensee's son on a couple of occasions, but was met with a defensive and dismissive attitude. In fact, his response was, "You should just accept it, you live on the high street." However, it was pointed out to him, we actually live on the Eastwood Road in a residential block. We concede the noise levels of Crafty Casks has been more tolerable in the past few weeks, but we fear this could be due to the worsened weather and the new COVID 10 p.m. curfew. Our concern is when the curfew is lifted, the situation will revert. Neither of us feel we could tolerate another summer living under these conditions. I would also like to bring to your attention that since the bar has opened, we have had no contact with the licensee, Mr. John Smith. We assumed he was aware of the problems, but no attempts were made on his part to reconcile our differences. Actually, until last week, I wouldn't have known what Mr. John Smith looked like. I've had my concerns about speaking today for fear of reprisal, but I have plucked up the courage as I felt it was imperative to express our views and concerns whilst we have the opportunity. Thank you again for your time, and I trust you will take what I have said into consideration.
Thank you very much. I notice Councillor Carol Weston has got her hand up, asking for clarification points, please, Councillor Weston.
Thank you. Larissa, can I just say what a lovely, concise report. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Where do you live? Do you live in the flats or do you live on the road along the east?
No, so we live in the flat. So our flat is actually above Bentley's Cafe, but our adjoining wall is actually adjoining wall to Crafty Crafts.
And where's your front door?
So our front door is actually at the back of the flats, but our living room window overlooks the high street, so it overlooks Eastwood Road. So that's where we're getting the issues from the people congregating, the noise outside.
And the other young lady you were talking about, where does she live? Does she live next to you or does she live further down the flats?
No, she lives below us. So we're not directly above, we're sort of, we're the third level up. She's directly below the flat. She's at the back of the property though. There is another flat next door to her that's directly above him.
Sorry, can I just clarification? Is there 2 lots of flats? Is there a top lot and the middle lot?
Yeah, so there's 3 floors. So you've got the bar, a set of flats, and then another set of flats on top. We're on the top floor. And the resident that's directly above is Mr. Burgess, who has also submitted a letter.
Just another quick question. Before Crafty Crafts opened, there's other public houses down there. What sort of noise did you get from them? Was there any?
JJ Whispers, we don't really get much noise from them. I'll be honest with you that they have staff and they keep their doors shut. And if there's anybody outside making noise, they do ask them to obviously, keep it down because there are residents above them. But we don't really have any issues with them.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Councillor Shaw, have you anything? Any clarification? You're on mute and you've stopped your video. You're still on mute.
Right, thank you. The question was, you say you actually typed up a couple of letters for other residents. This was at their request and no pressure was put on them to do this?
No pressure at all. It was at their request. And I like I said, I actually have evidence of a text message between myself and Miss Smith to back that up if needs be.
Thank you.
Okay, there's no other questions from the subcommittee. Other parties may only ask questions of the interested parties, but it's for clarification only, purpose only. Is there anyone, please? I don't know if you can all put your blue hands up or anything, or I'll just go through the screens to have a quick look. Have you got a thumbs up? No, nothing. Thank you, Larissa. That was a good presentation. Thank you very much. Right, Mr. Smith, it is now your turn to put your opportunities forward. And again, you will have 15 minutes.
Could I ask for Ellie Smith to make her statement first?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That'll be fine.
Hiya. So I would like just to say that this whole time that this whole thing has been going on, that yes, I have felt pressurised into doing this. I've had numerous people knocking at my door saying that it's my responsibility because I live directly above Crafty Casks. Yes, I did put a complaint in purely for the fact that Larissa did say to me that she was putting hers in. So I said, okay, I might as well put a written statement in as well. I'll be completely honest, at the beginning when the Crafty Cast opened, it was bad. I did speak to Chris about this, and a couple of times there wasn't really anything coming back from him, and it still carried on. So then I got obviously Siobhan coming around my flat, and she was doing like a noise thing from my children's bedroom, which was pretty bad. And then obviously lockdown had come along, and obviously nothing. It was closed down. After lockdown, I think it was about 2 weeks probably after lockdown, there was a fight outside, but that wasn't from, because I spoke to the lady who was actually in that fight, and because I was really concerned, that was coming from Oyster Wolf, which has just recently opened. And yeah, so basically I don't understand why you're saying that I've been threatened, Councillor Mike Wilkinson, because I haven't been threatened. I actually spoke to Stephen Greener on the phone, I believe, because I had a voicemail left to say that I had been threatened. If I had been threatened, I can assure you that matters probably would have been a lot worse. I don't condone violence in the slightest, but if I had been threatened, it probably would have been settled another way. And Chris would have been actually told face to face if I'd been threatened. I hadn't been threatened. As for I now work in Crafty Casks pub, no, I don't. It's actually my business partner that works down there. So that's a complete lie, as well as saying that I have been. I think I've actually cleaned in there once. I haven't done it since. That was to help my business partner out. I just feel really upset by the fact that Larissa is now saying that I'm going against it, when she knows for a fact that she has been knocking on my door. She has been knocking at everybody else's door upstairs, asking for a statement, and I was the only one, because I do have really bad mental health issues, and she knew at the time that I was going through a really bad stage, because I'm a single mum with 2 children, that I was going through a really bad stage. And I'm just really upset, to be honest. And I'm not saying that Crafty Casks have been, angels. They haven't. And I have said this to Chris and to John Smith. And I have seen that they have got bouncers at the door now. And since that, I can honestly say I have no issues. I said this to Larissa, and I said this to Mike Wilkinson when he actually turned up at my flat unannounced. And I opened the door and he come in and he said, "Oh, I've been trying to get through to you for a few weeks. I'm sorry, but I don't want people knocking at my door." I also had someone from upstairs, it wasn't Larissa, I also had someone come downstairs, and they said to me, and it really upsets me, and they basically said to me that it's my fault, and that I'm the one that lives directly above it, and I'm basically an irresponsible parent because I haven't put a complaint in. I'm a really laid back person, and I've got 2 small children to worry about, and I'm not the sort of person to want to get anything closed down, and I wouldn't do that. But I do feel like from sort of after lockdown, I have been pressurised into this.
Thank you very much.
I would also like to say, sorry. I would also like to say that my children aren't in any sort of danger. The only reason that I said that in my statement was because there was a fight that had broke out around the back, and that was coming from Oyster Wolf. That wasn't coming from Crafty Casks.
Okay, that's what you've already stated. Thank you. I see Councillor Mike Wilkinson and Councillor Carol Weston have both got their hands up. Councillor Mike Wilkinson, would you like to ask Ms Smith for clarification, please, on any items she stated? Thank you.
I'm happy to, Chair, but I'll obviously concede to Councillor Weston that she's a member of your committee.
Yeah, okay.
She can go first, but I do have questions. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Councillor Weston.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Ellie. I'm very sorry that you're being putting pressure onto you. That's not good. I just wanted I think I've been clarified for what I wanted to ask you anyway. Just you live where you live in that block. Am I led to believe that you live on top of Crafty Casks? Is that correct?
Yeah. So I live directly above Crafty Casks. I live, I would say, where the toilet area is and the bar and the side of Crafty Casks.
All right, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you. I'm sorry again for your problems.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Shaw.
I just want to clarify from Ms Smith that she actually did contact the environmental health to come round to do a read because of the noise.
Yeah, that's correct. But that was when it first had opened, and that's when it was bad. And I won't, truthfully, it was bad then. And I had addressed Chris, and I couldn't get anything. He wasn't really answering. That's when obviously me and Larissa then started talking, and also Paul. They were coming down to my flat and we was having conversations about it. And then I believe Andy and Jill that used to live there, I've not seen them there for a few months now, for probably about 4 or 5 months. That I think that they Jill come down a couple of times. But yeah, I don't really know what to say really. I'm really upset by the fact that Larissa is, by what she's saying.
Right. The other thing was, you said that you haven't cleaned there other than once, but your business partner has. So in fact, it is still a business that you're involved with that's doing the cleaning.
Yeah, we do have a business, but I will do my own things and she will do her own things. She has been she has been doing that, I think, since it's opened. I've only just really started getting into business with Stacey, who actually lives next door to Larissa.
Thank you, Chair.
If you were inviting me to speak, Chair, you were muted.
That makes a change, doesn't it? Thank you. Yes, I was. Glad you can lip read.
Thank you, Chairman. Ellie, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things in what you're saying for the benefit of the committee, because I think it's important to do so. When I came round to see you, yeah, I had been trying to get hold of you for a while, because every time I was in the block talking to all the residents at the time who contacted me, you weren't in. So I was constantly coming back because I needed to speak to everybody, which was why I did come back to your flat. And when I spoke to you, of course, and as you said, obviously this was right at the start, I think that things were quite bad. At that time, did you feel as though I put any pressure on you to make a complaint to the council?
Mike, to be honest, I hate confrontation, and I'm one of these people that just want to make everybody happy. But yeah, I did. At the time, I felt pressured by one of the residents that was upstairs, and he kept coming down and saying that, you know, it's my problem. I should be the one doing it because I live directly above it and I have children, and it's my responsibility. It wasn't just you, Mike, that had come round. I'm not saying it was just you that had put me under pressure, but I have felt under pressure with it all, especially towards the end. I mean, at the beginning it was bad, but and I wish that I'd put a written complaint in then, and that this written complaint hadn't gone in this time, because it's just, and to be honest, I didn't even type the letter. Yes, I did. Larissa was there, and I did say to Larissa, could she do it for me, because she had the laptop. And I think she'd done somebody else's as well. But to be honest,
Ellie,
yeah.
Excuse me, can you just answer Councillor Mike?
Yeah.
Wilkinson? I'm not going into other people.
I've answered the question.
If you felt threatened by him coming round.
Okay.
Thank you.
The other thing I was going to say was, Ellie, and then we had a conversation about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And just to clarify that for the benefit of the committee,
yeah.
I never said you were threatened, because I don't know. I was given information that you were being threatened.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I naturally was very concerned by it. And in actual fact, I even involved Essex Police in it. I was that concerned. And I stood them down once I got hold of you, because I couldn't get hold of you to start off with. Now, do you remember the conversation that we had?
No, not to be honest.
I don't mean the ins and outs of it, but do you remember us talking?
Oh yeah, I remember us talking, yeah.
Okay. Now, that wasn't that long ago. So at that time, you said to me exactly what you said to the committee today, that had he threatened you, you would have dealt with it yourself, which reassured me. But you also said to me that you were still fully supporting the review for this application. So my question is, what has changed between then and you putting your revised letter in? What's changed?
Mike, I haven't. This is the thing that's really winding me up, because I actually said to you when you were standing in my living room and I was standing in the kitchen that I was more than happy to support Crafty Casks and say that they had got better, and that I was more than happy to support you and Larissa and everybody else that was against Crafty Casks, and say yes, it was bad, because I did have Siobhan around my house. You know, this whole thing, especially the end of it, has come from being, I just feel so pressurized. I've even been I've had to go to the doctor about it, because it's awful, and I don't want to be made to feel like I'm a bad parent because I didn't put that complaint in, because it, you know, but with the noise.
No, and I totally agree with you, Ellie, and I don't condone whoever said that to you.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is that you're saying you felt pressurized, but you've changed your story. Or not saying so, I rephrase it. I apologise. No, I apologise. I'll change that. You haven't changed your story. You've changed your statement, for want of a better phrase. You've taken.
I haven't written no. I didn't write no statement. No, I just given my complaint, and it was written down on the letter.
Yeah. Okay, but you put a new one in. So what has happened to prompt you to do that? Who's pressurised you to do that then?
So obviously there was complaints before lockdown, which when I said it was bad, then lockdown had happened, and then obviously Chris sorted Dorman out. I actually had a conversation with Chris as well, and there were certain people that he wasn't allowing back in the pub because it was certain people that were actually making this noise and smashing glasses. And since then, they haven't been there because they used to park around the back, and I haven't seen them since that conversation with Chris. Now, Chris, I did have a bit of a tiff with Chris because I said to him, you know, it's taking the mick. You know, I've got 2 small babies. I'm on my own. I don't get any help. And I don't know, the whole time. I mean, not at the beginning, it was absolutely fine. You know, I was happy to put my complaint in. After lockdown, that's when I feel as though I was being pressurised by just a couple of people, like by obviously the neighbours and councillors, basically. Sorry, Mike, but yes, by people coming around my house, and I felt a little bit intimidated.
Right, thank you. Councillor Wilkinson, don't cross-examination. It's just for clarification, please.
I'll leave that there then, Chair.
Thank you. And Ms Sheridan would like to speak. Thank you.
It was just really to bring about some clarification. Ellie Smith did contact me last year in regards to the noise arising from the premises, and that's when the noise abatement was served on the premises. I can confirm she also contacted mid-August, and that was prior to the review being called in regards to a complaint of noise, and we had a conversation in regards to the noise arising from the premises, and that we were obviously going to be following our standard procedure in regards to investigating the noise. So just to confirm, Ellie Smith hasn't complained just once. It has been more than one occasion, and that was mid-August prior to the review being called.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? I'm going to flick through the screen just to see if anyone else is putting a thumbs up or a hands up. Can't. I'll look on the screen. Mr. Smith he's got his hand up. Mr. Smith, you're on mute.
Yes, so I'd just like to clarify with Ellie. The way I understand it is that there was a problem last year when we had the music on, and there hasn't been a problem since. Is that the case?
There was a problem, yeah, obviously when it all was really bad, and I spoke to Chris, and then a couple of weeks after lockdown, I believe, there was a fight that had broke out, and I was really angry about it because my children were up. But I actually had the conversation with a girl that had actually got hit by this man in the middle of the road, and it was because I'd asked them, and they said that they'd come out of Oyster Wolf, and I was actually sitting in Oyster Wolf with my children prior to that, and I did actually see them sitting in there. But I'm sure I made the complaint obviously before lockdown, and then that one complaint, I'm not sure, I think it might have been Siobhan maybe that I'd spoke to, and I just said, because Louisa had come down and she also said that she wasn't happy obviously about what had gone on, so I'd called, I think it might have been Siobhan, but if I'll be completely honest with you, half the time because of the medication that I'm on, my mind's just like a blur, if I'm honest.
Okay,
right. So to be clear, the complaint you made in August wasn't relating to our premises? No,
it was about a fight that had broke out.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just say one more thing before you go?
Sorry.
Yep, so there was...
Wait a minute, sorry, Ellie, is this clarification on the question you've been asked?
Yeah.
Not to go over what you've already said, because we've heard it's a fight, and it doesn't affect Crafty Casks. No. We don't need to know that anymore. No. We only need to have a clarification, please.
Yeah, so just to clarify also, there was some loud music coming from Crafty Casks, which was at the back. That was just after lockdown. That I wasn't happy about, but I did speak to Chris about this, and he then decided to keep the back doors locked, and obviously since that I've not had anything.
Okay, thank you. Right, Mr. Smith, it's down to yourself. You have now got 10 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry it's taken a while.
Well, I won't be very long. I'll be very brief, as I think I covered most of the things in my written submission. I bitterly regret the recent events, especially those of the 7th of August. We had some difficulties with live music when we first opened, because I believed that our soundproofing was good. I expected the planning condition to be discharged before October 28th last year. I applied for the discharge of our conditions 16 weeks before it was finally rejected on the 22nd of December. We have not played any live music since the noise abatement order was served on us. We went through the busy Christmas and New Year period without a problem, despite environmental health misgivings about us being allowed to open late on New Year's Eve. Since then, we've installed some more soundproofing in the area that we believe was causing a problem, and hope to have our soundproofing condition discharged quite soon. Even on the 7th of August, there doesn't seem to have been a problem with loud music. I'm very happy to have a sound limiting system installed by any professionally accredited company to ensure that the sound level from the bar doesn't exceed whatever the prescribed limit is. I understand that Talent Masuku from Planning and Andrew Padden from Environmental Health are in discussion about this matter, and I hope that they'll be getting back to me in the next week or so. We had no further problems with noise until the recent complaints, and I feel that there have been attempts to suggest that our recent problems are actually a general problem going back to last year. However, this is not the case. I think it's regrettable that none of the neighbours have ever complained to me directly. I know Larissa was saying that I hadn't reached out to her, but really, if she has a problem, she should complain with me, and I would like to engage with her. In fact, going forward, I'd like to engage with her and the other neighbours if they have a problem, and I'm sure we can get it resolved. Since I received the email from licensing regarding the complaints, I've worked closely with them, and we have an action plan agreed, which I believe has put us back on the straight and narrow. Their guidance and help have been invaluable, and I appreciate all the time they've devoted to us recently, especially Stephen Greener. I'm very glad that neither they nor Essex Police have decided to support this review, preferring instead to rely on the measures already in place. I also received an email from Environmental Health about the incidents around the 7th of August, and I suggested we could work together to resolve the problem using the action plan already agreed on with licensing, but they preferred to take another route. I'm extremely unhappy about the events of 7th of August, and I think Siobhan has demonstrated that it wasn't our finest hour. However, I do take issues with the suggestion that she had to withhold video evidence for fear that we would retaliate against the person who provided the video. And the same with Larissa, that she felt intimidated, that for some reason, well, that she felt in fear that we would retaliate against her. I mean, I think that's, well, a terrible thing to say. I think Crafty Casks has been portrayed as some sort of Wild West hellhole, when in reality, we're a small independent venue that serves the community well. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask Ellie, can you sort your device out? Because you're actually making me feel seasick, bobbing up and down. It's just that you're bobbing up and down. It's making me absolutely feel.
Sorry about that. I think.
Can you actually sort that out, please?
Okay, I think it's been quite rude, to be honest.
Okay, just get yourself sorted so you're comfortable for this, because you need to be comfortable as well. Okay. Carol Weston, Councillor Carol Weston, you've got your hand up. Clarification questions, please.
Can I just ask one question, please? Mr. Smith, you are the licence holder of the premises.
Yes.
And are you there on the premises every day, night, or is there another person within the premises who is also has a licence to sell alcohol, please?
I'm not there, certainly not all the time. I wouldn't say even most of the time. Although recently I have been spending a lot more time there. We have one other, well, we actually had two other licence holders now. Amelia Coppins has been a licence holder for a number of years, and my son has recently been granted a licence. So we have 3 licence holders altogether.
May I come back, Chairman? May I come
yes,
back,
of course
Chairman?
you can. Yes.
Can you, when you say Amelia Coppins when did she get the licence, and when did your son get the licence?
My son got his licence within the last week. Amelia Coppins has had one for a number of years. She comes from a licensed premises family. Her mother was a licence holder, and she was brought up in a pub, as far as I know. I don't know how long she's had a licence, but I understand.
Quick question. So was there at any time on your premises that either these people were not on the premises and you weren't on the premises at the time when the Crafty Crafts was open?
We don't always have a licence holder on the premises, no. We're a very small venue, and most of the time we have few customers, so normally there's just one member of staff on.
Okay, thank you.
We're not an out-and-out pub. We're a small bar in a shop unit.
Thank you. I've got one question for you, Ms. Smith. You're saying you're not a bar, but you're selling alcohol, and you have a seating area.
Sorry, no, we are a bar. We're not a traditional pub. We're not a large pub. You
don't need to be a large pub to sell alcohol. You're still selling alcohol, and you've got people sitting down. You're not a takeaway. You're not like a takeaway service. I'm just clarifying this, are you? You just don't clarify.
Sorry, I was talking about the number of staff we have on any one time, and whether we're likely to have a licence holder on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Altogether, we have 5 staff, and okay. 3 of them are now licence holders.
Okay, Councillor Phil Shaw.
Thank you, Chair. One of the conditions is that alcohol shouldn't be consumed outside the building. We've heard in one case before, looking at the pictures, 4.63, there seems to be a gentleman outside drinking as well. He has a glass in his hand. There doesn't seem to be anybody stopping people going out there with glasses.
Sorry, is that a question to me?
Yes.
Yes, I must admit we have had a lack of control of people taking glasses outside. It's not something we want, and we have taken steps to stop this. Before we had the door staff on Friday and Saturday nights, we did put an extra member of staff on, to look after the floor, including checking to make sure that nobody was taking glasses outside. It's not something we want. I mean, we don't want people outside with glasses. We just want people to go outside to smoke and then come back.
And again, noticing on these pictures, the doors are left open. Again, that is contravening the conditions, isn't it? The doors should be kept closed.
Yes, we have a plan in place that I wanted to discuss with environmental health, where we would put on a second set of doors inside to create a small vestibule, so that it would we could guarantee to have a set of doors closed at all times.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. I believe, yes, Councillor Mike Wilkinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Smith, I wonder if you could explain to the committee, if I may ask, because it sort of comes to something that I mentioned about the type of premises you are. You said that you're a small pub or small bar, or I can't remember the exact phrase that you said, and you're not like the others in Rayleigh. How do you think you differ then, and why is it you feel necessary to remain open till midnight when all the other micro pubs in the area don't? What makes you different from them?
I was talking about, when I spoke earlier, I was merely talking about the size of our premises and the number of staff that we're likely to have on at any one time.
Oh, okay. So why? Okay. So in regards to the time, though, that's the point. I think it's important. Why you want the bar to remain open so much longer than the other micro pubs in the area do? Because that's what you're saying your premises is.
We're a craft bar, more along the lines of the Ale House in Chelmsford.
That's not what was in your planning application.
Sorry,
Chair. I'm going to end it on the grounds of cross-examination again if I'm not careful.
Yes.
I don't need a appropriate way of challenging the inappropriate comments that have been made, because I don't want you being misled. Because I'll take guidance on that. But
Miss Sheridan.
Yeah, it was just to clarify, you said in regards to the taking of glasses outside, but can you clarify in regards to exhibit SSO8 4.63 and 4.64, that is your son outside with the female in the yellow blouse that has a glass outside the premises, and she wasn't challenged to take the glass in. So in regards to what you're saying, not permitting glassware outside, that's not actually the case.
Yes, I haven't challenged any of your evidence, and I have put my hand up to the unfortunate events on that evening, and I must say it wasn't probably an isolated incident, but we have tightened up significantly since then, and we do not allow glasses outside. It has actually been quite difficult to enforce, but our customers are becoming more educated now. And I don't believe we have a problem with glasses going outside now. We seem to have fewer people smoking outside as well. We have fewer customers at the moment. But no, I believe we had this under control.
Thank you. I can't see anyone else asking questions. So am I right in saying, Sonia, we'll come off the live stream to look at the CCTV? Or are we going, Rebecca might be able to help me, are we going to do any closing statements first? What would you suggest, please?
Chairman, sorry,
Yes.
Chairman, I'm not sure whether, am I allowed to ask Steve Greener a question, or is that not in this thing now?
Your advice, Rebecca, please.
I think we're taking it a little bit out of order, but Chair, it's a matter for you. If it's a clarification on something that Mr. Smith has said that Mr. Greener can assist with, then I think it would be open to you to allow that. And then I would suggest, because the parties have all agreed that they're happy for the CCTV to be shown, and you've agreed that that you don't require any commentary on it, it's to be shown at the end. I would suggest closing submissions first, a little unusually, simply because of the streaming issue. But that will allow the closing submissions to be streamed, and then the matter can be brought to an end on the streaming, but the meeting can continue publicly with all the parties present and the CCTV can be shown.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Councillor Weston to Steve Greener, please.
Yes, Steve, can I just ask a question? Am I right in thinking when selling alcohol, the licence holder or anybody who is selling alcohol, you have to have a licence on in the premises? And I just wanted to find out also, the licence holder has to show or have their certificate on show to say that they have a licence to sell alcohol. I was just a bit concerned where Mr. Smith said that sometimes he doesn't have a licence holder on the premises and they are selling alcohol. Perhaps you can just clarify that for me, please.
Yes, I can confirm that the guidance under the 182 guidance doesn't actually require the designated premises to be on site at all times to authorise the sale of alcohol. What there should be is the delegated powers from the designated premises supervisor authorising his staff to act on his behalf for the sale of alcohol. As it says under the guidance, you can't expect one person to be there every minute of the day to authorise every single sale of alcohol, but they should be able to delegate the powers down to their staff. Does that help?
Is that clear, Councillor Weston? Answer your question. Thank you very much. Right, as we've just heard, this is going out of order, but anyone is now permitted to make a short closing statement. It will not exceed 2 minutes. The order of closing statements will be premises licence holder, responsible authority, interested parties, then applicant. So I will ask Mr. Smith if he would like to make a closing statement, please.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I understand that we've had problems, but I think we've got measures in place to resolve those. I'm working very closely with licensing and planning, and hope to have the opportunity to work with environmental health as well. And I would like the opportunity to meet up with the residents, perhaps and Councillor Wilkinson on a regular basis to discuss how things are going. And I would like them to contact me if there are any difficulties. But yes, I think that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Responsible authority, please.
Yes, please. Environmental Health asked the licensing subcommittee to consider all options available to them and to consider if Mr. Smith is a fit and proper person to be the DPS or licence holder to Crafty Casks, to consider all the evidence presented to you today, the broad scope and failings by Mr. Smith to run his business in a safe and lawful manner, to question if it is appropriate to further condition the premises when all the evidence provided demonstrates Mr. Smith's defiance and blatant disregard for conditions and rules already in place. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Interested parties. Larissa?
I don't really have much to say, just obviously just like for my statement that I've made and my written statement to be taken into consideration with your decisions that you make. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And not least but not last, Mr. Wilkinson, Councillor Wilkinson.
Chair, sorry, I don't know if you've missed Ellie. I'm not sure she wants to say anything.
She would have come in with the premises licence holder.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so I'm going to keep mine very, very brief. And I think I echo what Siobhan Sheridan has said, and I think that it's important to recognise Mr. Smith as being the licence holder is not the person actually that's predominantly there, and his son is a very different person. Not that I've met him, but what I'm being told is a very different person to Mr. John Smith, and the people he surrounds himself with are as well. Which I think is probably the reason why nobody feels confident in approaching the staff there. And it's not because of yourself, Mr. Smith, it's more to do with the people that's surrounding your son. But I would urge the committee to consider the fact that, as Siobhan Sheridan said, that to date we are 12 months into the existence of the Crafty Cask. The only time it was ever behaving itself was A, when COVID locked it down in March, and B, when COVID started restricting it again and the review came about. Apart from that, there's been all sorts of problems, and I accept what Mr. Smith is saying. There's an action plan in place, but there is a huge amount of resistance there to comply with what the council is saying. It's more a case of, well, this is what we want to do, and I think this needs to be enforced, Chair. If I'm honest with you, an action plan is not good enough. It needs to be in conditions, so there's no doubt, and I totally support what Siobhan Sheridan said. The reason for that is that it's enforceable. Otherwise, we're in no position to enforce it if it's not done so. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Sonia, can I ask you that we come off live stream now? And then we go and have Steve Greener will show us